The plan was simple enough: to find a muscle car and then restore back to its former glory. That was until the car, a Plymouth Roadrunner 446 barrel, was found after rusting away for years on the other side of the Pacific. Welcome to the Roadrunner Road Trip, starring Australia's Dowell and Rick Ehrenberg of the United States. It's the complete rust-to-rebuild project by these two mopar masters, with a deadline of just 20 days. Watch as every panel, every nut and every bolt is replaced to perfection, plus a new interior overhaul, and the guys fit a V8 engine, restarting for the very first time in almost 40 years. Then Brian and Rick hit the interstate as they attempt to drive the reborn Roadrunner from New York to San Francisco in 7 days. That's 3,800 miles, coast to coast, in 7 days. It's ultimate make-or-break adventure road trip. The Roadrunner Road Trip.
This is the hardest thing I've ever done. The mopar cars started really late 80s, but prior to that I was actually into anything and everything. My dad was into Holdens, and I started with Holdens, went through every Monaro, every Statesman you can think of. I had all variations, and then I got into Fords, and I had virtually every variations of Fords, and then towards the end of that I got into American Fords, full-size cars that they sold here in Australia, Galaxies and stuff like that. And then late 80s I found a 70 Dodge Charger at a car swap meet, and that just sort of sent me down this path I didn't know at the time, and I got interested in the Chrysler product, and then it just went from there. I went from one to the other and just went on and on and on. The reason I reckon the cars I've got today is because of the Hot Wheel cars as a kid, because you look at them, the little versions of Hot Wheels with little Magnum wheels and redline tyres and the metallic colours, and all I'm doing is playing with bigger cars today. Beep, beep. Some cars stay for a long time. Sometimes I just love them and I never want to let them go, and other ones come and go. It's just how the hobby is. You can't keep them all, and I can't park them all. Some have to go to make way for others. I find cars driving down the road, I find cars online, I find cars through friends. I hear about things. It's just all consuming, and then sometimes, even though I don't need it, I buy it anyway, and then I work it out later on. It's a nice shape. VH there, 340. That's a E55 they call it. VK. Plenty of chargers here if you like chargers. Peso. If you're into American cars and you can go through a yard you've never been through before, I could spend days there. I just love doing it. Big 72 coupe, that's a good car. That's a good mix. I've been very blessed, the wife that I chose, who's luckily easygoing. You'd have to be to live with me. That's a beauty. Oh, there's a 71 wagon. 71 no, but this one. There's a Polara. 71, like our old one. But she's genuinely, I think, happy to come along and go through some of my adventures with it. She'll follow me around some of the wrecking yards and hold parts for me. A big part of it is actually the thrill of the chase, is learning about it, finding about it. Sometimes it's a model you haven't had or you don't know much about. Sometimes that's even better because you're finding out something new. I don't know which way to turn, there's so many cars. Look at that one, Dowell. AMC. Got a pop-up sunroof as well. Wow. Pickup truck, Adventurer, top of the line. 73 Charger. This is a GM line of cars. GDOs. GDO. 442. GDO. And there's a Chevelle in the middle. Got a funny paint job. Look at the paint job on that one. And another GDO. And that's Le Mans. And then a Judge. That looks nice, original car. You can't keep doing the same things over and over, that would be boring. So I try to do different models. Even though I'm into mopars, there's so many variations of things you can buy. And I love getting into those little idiosyncrasies of all the different models. And 68 Super B, 426. Wow. The size of that motor. It's cool. Beautiful paint. 4-speed as well. Yeah, it's all part of being in a hobby. You're the most one-eyed person I've ever met.
It may be ugly, but you got to admit, it really is disgusting.
So Rick is a real good friend who lives in upstate New York, who I met, it's got to be over 10 years ago now. Within 5 minutes I just knew that we'd always be mates. We're just one of those people who have the same sense of humour. Now, downside is that now Rick is driving my car. That is the big negative.
And last night he was driving my 62 Savoy, and at every traffic light he did a massive burnout.
Don't believe it. I wouldn't do that.
Oh, no, I got witnesses. Payback is a bitch.
Is it on film?
No.
That it didn't happen. Yeah, I just so one-eyed. I'm not even taking notice.
Both my eyes are both.
Exactly. Yeah, Rick's a true New Yorkan, if that's a word, and he's been writing for Mopar Action magazine. He's been, I think, at least 30 years he's been doing that for. So he's well and truly in the thick of the Mopar scene. Beep, beep. The 1970 Plymouth Roadrunner was on my hit list. Rick knew of the car through a friend of his who's had it sitting in his garage for like 20 years. There are variations in the 70 Roadrunner. This particular one just about ticked every box. It's a 446 barrel, 4-speed, super track pack. It's got the B5 blue interior, which I really love. A lot of people don't, but I really love. It's got the air grabber on the hood. I mean, it's got everything that a muscle car guy loves. Well, the car was a bit more than I wanted to pay, but they threw in the rust for no extra charge. Yeah, when something's there, look out, I'm going to get it. I'll run you over to go get it. Beep, beep. I'm interested in the graphics, the fun they had with the cars back then. It was just cool. I mean, having a little Roadrunner, coloured Roadrunner on the front of the car and then a dust tail stripe down the side of the car. It's very 70s, which I really like. Beep, beep. Rick presented me the car. And I said to Rick, I got an idea, well, why don't I come across, put the car together over at your place and then drive it to San Francisco to ship it home. So that was the basic plan right at the very start. The fella that I bought the car from had a panel shop similar to mine, only bigger. And he said if I purchased the car off him, he was happy to give me a corner of that shop and I can do whatever I need to the car to get it to the point where we can drive it. I had basically 4 weeks roughly to do the car.
And there's the man of the hour.
Are you working?
Jose is sometimes here. This is his brother, Jose B. So there is the beast, the romping, stomping beast.
I was very excited to get started. Day one was very daunting though. You can tell I'm sweating. I've been going for about 3 hours, maybe a bit less, 2 and a bit. You finally unpicked the old cowling, as you can see. Luckily beautiful and dry underneath, no rust. Full of dust, but doesn't look like there's any rust. So, had quite a bit of damage. Had to replace, I'm in the middle of replacing the right-hand skirt. It's going to need to be replaced, the cowl top up here, because it's got some rust across the back. The car is basically solid, rust-wise, but it had 2 quarter panels put on it probably many years ago. Old style patch panels have been joined up here. So I've got to remove both quarter panels and put 2 AMD quarter panels on it. Going to replace this Dutchman panel at the same time. We're going to replace the trunk lid and the trunk floor extensions. Also this quarter panel. After the fabrication's done, then we're going to hang the panels. Basically just get the car back in one piece, which means putting the dash back in, heating. Going to try and restore the dash while it's out if we get time. And then of course mechanically, all the suspension. I have a motor and transmission, a good running used 446 pack engine. And just to make it fun, we're going to put a 5-speed manual on it. Mainly because this car, being a super track pack 4-speed, had 4:1 ratio Dana in the back. So trying to sit on 70 going across America is going to be a bit hard. I'll be doing about 3,800 revs. So anyway, the plan is once the car's back together, then we're going to put all the junk in it and drive it from New York to LA to where it has to be shipped back to Australia. I definitely had moments of feeling a bit overwhelmed. The concentration when you're got a timeline, there was no space to really step back and reflect. I literally just put my head down and just kept going and just going and going. Another day's work. Started disassembling the quarter panel now. Took the door, took good gap alignment. Just starting to unpick a piece at a time. I'm going to end up taking nearly the whole back off, I think. Everywhere I look, there's more damage. I've got to fix some rust up here. Melted the lead out in the quarter panel. Basically looks solid though. The quarters look solid. The inner sills look solid. So got good gaps in the door. I think it'll come up alright. So going back to Rick's, I'm exhausted. I'll probably do some more work after tea. Got to put this left side door together so I can put it on and get a gap alignment on the quarter panel before I take the quarter panel off. So bit by bit we're getting there. Body wise I was on my own and it was a big job, I can tell you. But it's looking good. Beautiful AMD panels, they fit really well. Like brand new. This car's going to look spot on when it's all done. Try and finish I'm aiming to finish maybe another 3 days and I'll have the bodywork hopefully all done, and then I can start looking at putting the mechanicals together. So there we go. One of the challenges of actually doing the job was I was actually doing it in another part of the world. So I was in someone else's workshop, so I'm using tools that I'm not familiar with, not having every tool that I'm used to having it back at my own shop. I wanted to be able to assemble the car once, and when I get it back to Australia, I didn't want to pull it apart again. So today I'm going to try and repair that hole in the floor that someone's butchered in there, and fix a bit of damage in the firewall where someone's drilled a few extra holes. After that, hopefully it goes well, we're going to start disassembling the tail panel, trunk floor, quarter panels. We're going to start pulling the whole back of the car off. So lots more fabrication to go. The big plan was I wanted to not have to do anything twice back at home, so I ended up painting the engine bay in its finished colour. Working hard. Put the engine bay in colour last night. So that's the original factory B5 blue. And now I'm basically just throwing it all back together so I can travel. I'm not worried about finishing the body or paint. It's just going to look like a patchwork quilt. So I'm going to try and make sure everything's fitted back on the car so I know I've got everything, all the screws, nuts, bolts. So when I get back home again, I just got to pull all the hang-on panels off and prepare it for paint. So this is more fun than doing all the rust repairs. Engine bay looks really pretty. It's a really lovely blue. We started to put some of the mechanicals in already. And basically just roughed it all out, ready to go. Got the rear end in. Got the Dana, the 410 Danas in the back now. Although we're thinking the springs are too tall, we don't know what's going on there. I think I might have to put some, get the springs reset or replaced, don't know yet. But at the moment it's too high at the back and not sitting square either, so could do some work there. Just putting the used grill in it that came with the car, but I've got a new one to put in later. Put in all the core strength, down all the core support down the bottom of the radiator support panel, down there, and also up inside the fenders. There's some extra core support strength up in there. Probably can't see that, it's too dark. So it's coming along. So hopefully we're working on about another 10 days. We're going to hopefully get it to run and drive, so we'll see how we go. And the car's finally getting picked up on the tow truck. So it's a pinnacle in the trip. And then the car moved to Rick's own house, and he had a beautiful 3-car bay hoist, mostly full of his cars, but had one free bay, and I was able to build all the mechanical stuff there. So the same thing again, everything that went into the car was detailed because I didn't want to pull it back out. So detail the engine, gearbox, even the floor of the car. I stone guarded the floor of the car whilst it was on the hoist. Brand new fuel tank, brand new fuel lines, brand new brake lines. Anything that the car needed was done there, but also done once. I didn't want to have to go readdress it. 5:45. Out here again early this morning. Whole day just doing knickknacks, little bits and pieces, just goes on and on. So Rick and I have been through the dash today. More Rick than me, that's his area. So we've tested, proven, restored, fixed, whatever's needed to get everything working on the dash. So now all the dash is working on the bench, so when we put it in the car you should have no problems, or next to none anyway. All indicators, lights, dash lights, horn, wipers, switch, I've got that all functioning. And there's the steering column. Can't see, but I've restored that. It's just waiting for paint. It's had new switching, new ignition barrel in it, greased all the bearings, it's fully disassembled and reassembled. Also finished off heater hoses and made sure wiper motor's working. Started fixing the rear quarter glass regulators. The list just goes on. Beep, beep. Building a car in America, which is the first time I'd done it, was you're in the land of American cars. So every night we were literally jumping online and ordering parts, and UPS and FedEx were just rolling in every day, day after day, with new parts. It was just so good. It was such a revelation compared to Australia, talking 3 weeks if you're lucky and longer, and if it's big, it's expensive. So what do you think, Rick?
Well,
it was a cow of a job, wasn't it?
it really wasn't bad, considering it's a 5-speed manual swap in place of a 4-speed.
Yeah.
And it could have been a lot worse.
What it'd take is probably...
It would have been much easier if mine had listened to my system for
Of course.
the beginning, of course.
I was just saying that the K-frame was twisted. That's what I was worried about, and I was right. That was putting the back out.
What you're forgetting is we're both twisted.
Yeah, you're twisted more than me.
Oh, okay, here we go.
Go on.
First view underneath. Second floor, ladies' undergarments. Third floor, flooring and furniture. Fourth floor, television on the front. Going up. How's it look?
I've got to detail the bottom of the sump now because I haven't been able to get under there.
What about it?
I haven't been able to get under the sump, so I can detail that now.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I couldn't have done it without Rick, of course. Having his help, and particularly on the back end when we're finally assembling the mechanical part of it, Rick's really good at the electronic side of things. Well, got our own feet today. Hit a couple of milestones today. Massive long day. It's been it's nearly 6 o'clock. I think I started at about 7:15. Roadrunner's going well. We've got brakes working today, clutch working today. Had the gear shift was hung up, I had to pull the gear shift selector slightly apart and correct that, which we did. So we got shifter working, brakes working, clutch working, engine's cranking over. We haven't tried to start it yet. There's the 5-speed conversion, the factory shifter, and it's got 15x7 rallies on it now with the tyres of my choice. It's almost starting to look like a car. Mechanically underneath, almost finished. Just got to put the exhaust on and drive shaft. So I've almost done. There's only a short amount of work there. So we've been going 25 days. Today's the day. We've got to start the engine. We've got no time left. We've got to get in the car and scoot off to San Francisco in 6 days. So let's hope the thing starts. Beep, beep.
So we just installed the wiring harness. We don't have any fuel in the thing yet. It's bone dry. We did put oil in it though, right? All right, so we're gonna.
We're just having a giggle if it pops. It pops.
Yeah, we're just curious to see if it pops with that compressor. We're gonna put a little ether in the center carburetor. We don't know if it cranks. We don't know if it starts. We don't know if any of the wiring's right. We don't know if it's got spark.
Ready?
Yeah. It runs. Right off the bat, it runs. There's no fuel in the tank, the carburetor is a bone dry. And it sounded beautiful.
It sounded confident. It did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thumbs up, dude.
We've got ignition, we have liftoff. Miracles do come true after all. Beep, beep. So in 7 days, we've got to get from east to west, get the car to the container yard, and then onto a plane back home again. So the pressure's on.
The Mopar Action Project Beeper 3, belonging to Brian Dowell of Melbourne, Australia, is being started and moving under its own power for the first time in many decades. Probably the last time it ever left a so-called factory like this was Hamtramck, Michigan in 1970. The owner is Brian Dowell of Melbourne. He's leaving the Mopar Action Dream Car Garage.
Another 25 days or something?
25 days into the build, and the car is now going to start and run under its own power. We have started it. We have run it with the wheels off the ground to ensure that it shifts. We know we have a firm brake pedal. We know the steering is tight. Brian is going to hopefully try and get the front end angles aligned now. Brian, turn your key. Start your engine. Doesn't sound bad for a used 440. Look at that. Look at that. It's a typical fall New York day. That's right. Knock down my sunflowers.
Exit on the interstate. Take a 2-week too late. Yeah.
Okay, guys, any last words?
See you in the spring. Break a leg.
Have a safe trip.
We will, thank you.
It runs. The beast lives.
Get up and get out of this town. Let it fade, let it fade like the sun.
Near Harrisburg, which is the capital of Pennsylvania. This was the first limited access road built in the U.S., very closely patterned after the 1930s German Autobahn. The speed limit is 70 miles an hour, which is what, about 125 kilometers per hour. And Brian is having a really good time. And we're going to try and make it into the middle of the state of Ohio tonight at the very least.
Okay, so we've done our first real test, sort of. We're not trying to can our chickens too early, but we've made it to Ray Barton's shop. Where's the town again?
Robesonia, Pennsylvania.
There you go. So we're just trying to catch Ray on the phone and see if we can meet up for a chat. And so far the roadie's been going good. I don't know if we showed you this, look on the back. So this is New York, San Francisco, Melbourne, or bust.
We're still on Interstate 76 in Pennsylvania. A close copy of the Autobahn, originally opened around 1940. And we're just approaching the exit for Carlisle, Pennsylvania, which is where there's this whole series of giant car shows, flea markets, swap meets, etc.
There's a lot of cars here, it's sensational. Buick, Lincoln, Chargers, everything you want. The best thing about the car shows is meeting all the other enthusiasts. That's the best part, it's great. I love these places, these sort of shows. There's all this American muscle and cars all on show together. Look how cool this is. It's Saturday afternoon and the place is absolutely packed. 80, 100 cars maybe. Basically, excuse to come somewhere in your car, get something to eat. Yeah, not a bad looking car, but it's just a...
He wants $18,000.
Also,
when he wrote that for sale sign, trust me, he had some wacky tobacco.
yeah, I thought that was the phone number, the price.
Yeah, exactly. He's definitely
Dreaming.
yeah, fantasy land.
Yep, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a scat pack, which is the equivalent to our core package.
Yes.
Look at that.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. What a mean looking car
That
though.
serious variable cam time. The cam phaser has like 45 degrees of authority.
Wow.
Active intake manifold goes to short runner and I can get 40.
So does that make the same power as my SRT did?
Same.
Same, yeah. Didn't they go up though in power? Didn't they get a bit more?
Not that I know of.
Ah.
Maybe 5 horsepower.
Yeah.
Some noise in your exhaust.
Got a cool red interior. I like that car. What a cool looking car.
The Challenger, next company, both have satellite radio, but the antennas are different.
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah. I'm gonna go around the back. That's nice. And then the
Bang for the buck.
equivalent for the... Yeah, so what do these worth? 45?
I don't know, but they're, you know, the reason you see so many of them, they get up and go
Yeah.
without filling your bank account.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap.
And they're available at 6 speeds if you want them.
Wow, what a good looking car though.
No, this one's automatic. The Chargers are only automatic. Xiaomi you can get either way. Giant nav screen.
What a good looking car though. I like the colour too.
Corelli, yeah, these Zeros, the ones I've driven, have lived up to their name. The tires are really Zeros. But, you know,
What's that mean? Zero traction or?
Yeah, exactly.
Cars in the back.
Oh, yeah.
Hidden in there.
Yeah.
Pontiac Le Mans. Oh, it's a convertible. That's a pretty unusual car.
I think it's pronounced Le Mans.
Le Mans?
Proper.
Oh, look at the
Yeah,
overspray
I've
on
been
the
there.
inside of the wheelhouse. Hate that.
Yeah, my Dakota's got some.
Hate that. I'm filming. Camaro. So there's another Monaro. Look, it's got GDO badges on it. Trans Am. You don't like that? That's too old.
No.
That's too modern for you. You don't like it?
Another one over there.
Why don't you say what you really think?
I can't, you're on camera.
Don't want to be rude. He's a Challenger
Sad Mount Town
rally pack. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it real? No, it was a 3-inch little video, so it was, you know, truthfully.
You're the most one-eyed person I've ever met.
It may be ugly, but you got to admit, it really is disgusting.
Checking out a Survivor 70 RT. We saw this at the last car show we're at. It's one thing being an enthusiast in Australia in your muscle cars, but it seems to take on another level when you're in America and you're with everyone else who's been with them all their lives. It's great. So it looks like it's had some paint work, but basically pretty original. 4-speed 440, beautiful headlining. But he's gone out of his way to keep it looking untouched by the looks.
Original rust.
Original rust, no extra charge. Not a bad car though.
Oh, I don't know where it came from.
Good car to restore. I'd love to get the hands on that. Give it the old one too. That's right up my alley.
We would just patch it down here.
No, I'll fix it properly.
Huh?
Probably fix it properly. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you could hook the patch on there. That's a beauty. You don't like 70s?
I don't dislike it, it's just not my favorite.
Right. Yeah, just so one-eyed. I'm not even taking notice.
Both my eyes are mopar only.
Exactly.
Pennsylvania Turnpike. The lights get dimmer slowly to give you a chance to adjust your retina to the amount of light. The triple of the lane slowly give you an interlude of reality. Still going, what, 75?
These roads are like a trucker's paradise. They're a long, long road heading west.
Ain't going through the
little corner of West Virginia, and then we'll be in Ohio. We're going over the oldest suspension bridge in the world. The world.
Wow. That's what, half an hour away?
Probably 15, 20 minutes at this point.
Hopefully it won't be dark.
Almost dark. I've never gone over it.
Okay.
Going down a steep hill into the Ohio River Valley. The Ohio River is one of the largest rivers in the U.S. I'm not sure, number 3, 4, 5. And we're going to go over probably the oldest, definitely the oldest suspension bridge in the world. This is pretty mind-bending. Now, you got the balls to walk over it, or you're not interested?
Yeah, you can walk over it.
Huh?
Yeah, I don't mind. You want to walk in.
Okay.
But
How's traffic
can't
on
you
the
just
right?
park there? No, where are you going to park?
Right across the street. Nobody's coming?
No, you're right. If you go. Yeah. GoPro, stop recording.
We're just coming into Indianapolis, the capital of Indiana, where of course exists Indianapolis Raceway Park and both the famous drag strip and the Brickyard, the Oval. And it's a fairly significant city with some high rises. But we're just blasting through west on Illinois Route 133, leaving Paris. This is a perfect example of the American heartland. Just corn and wheat as far as the eye can see, pretty much in every direction.
Mississippi, Missouri border.
Oh, Missouri, Illinois border.
Missouri, Illinois border. Mississippi River coming up. Now look at this for a day though, check that out. Imagine living here. How driving that. It was pretty hot only about half an hour ago. It was pretty hot, wasn't it? How's the V-body in the rain? Fine. And wipers are working a treat. Huh? The wipers are working a treat.
Wow, the slowest speed.
Okay, it's Tuesday morning and we're heading out of Colorado towards Wyoming. This is the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. We're kind of taking a detour back road. I don't know what you want to call it. Something miles from anywhere. It's old truck. It's an old truck.
See that?
Yeah. This is like a scene at a Pale Rider. I feel like Clint Eastwood. There is seriously no one out here on these back roads. Look at that. What's going on over there? There's someone's living there. Put a fence around the middle of nowhere. There's some Dodgers there. Nice pickups. Oh, we're in the dirt.
There's the end of the pavement. But God knows how long.
Yeah, this reminds me of Rick, a road that Rick always sends me down.
So look at these scrubby foothills here.
Except for the dirt road bit.
Oh. What gear are you in, Brian? Fourth?
Fourth, yeah.
Yeah. Fourth gear is all you need when you have a 410 rear axle.
Colorado, about to cross into Wyoming shortly. It's just a nice valley. Look at that, beautiful. Cars running beautiful. Look at the temperature way down and the oil pressure way up.
Look at those whitish trees, white spruce.
Wow, yeah, look at it. Whoa.
Or is that snow on them?
Could be snow.
It is, it's snow. Hello. Ho, ho, ho.
Rick's going mad, he doesn't know which way to point the camera. Oop, wait. Oop, there, no, wait. That's you, not knowing which way to point the camera.
Right. Sure.
Let's see what's over this horizon coming up. So just open country. And then to the left, the Rocky Mountains, just endless.
Next break is when we make it. Slow down. It's close. We're heading to the Ames Monument in Wyoming, which is a monument to financiers who built the what, Union Pacific Railroad?
Yeah, I think it was Union Pacific.
In a day or two, we're going to go to Promontory Point, Utah, where they laid the golden spike where the East Railroad from the east met the railroad from the west. Oh, the cattle guard.
There's a whole, what are they?
I think they're pronghorn antelope. We scared them off the road though.
No, you did. You took one look at them, they ran.
Yeah, I know. We just left Golden Spike National Monument where, for the second time, where the railroad from Omaha, Nebraska met the railroad from Sacramento, California, joining the East Coast with the West Coast 149 years ago. Now we're driving down 15 miles of dirt road to the Great Salt Lake where there's supposed to be some stunning work of art sticking out into the lake called the Spiral Jetty. We made it to the Spiral Jetty on the shores of the Great Salt Lake. Brian calls it a pile of rocks. And you know what? He's not wrong.
It's 1 star from me on TripAdvisor.
Its name, as you can see. Luckily, the pavement itself is clear. Corner Mountain, still on Wyoming Route 130. And some of the cars that have been coming at us had 4 or 5 inches of snow on the cars. How far do you think you could see? Meters? 50 meters? Getting worse by the second. Observation point. Do it. Do it. Libby Flats Observation Point. Yeah, it almost looks like a castle. Alright, we're going to walk out here and see what this is all about.
Grubby that is. Nobody here but us. Nobody here but us chickens. Yeah. You said that.
On someone alive, rely on a fly.
It's so quiet out here. This is bloody cold, even colder than cold.
What's this place called?
Freeze your nuts off. Check the sign out. 10,847 feet above sea level. That's probably why it's so cold. And there's Rick out there concentrating, taking another photo. It's cold out there, baby.
Just stayed at 80 westbound in the west part of Wyoming, and the road is completely closed. Brian will show you the tractor trailers as far as the eye can see. And the road will probably be closed for at least another 1 to 2 hours. We knew that in advance from Google, but Brian did not want to drive on the slightly snow-covered back roads. So here we are.
Slightly, they were terrible.
They weren't terrible.
Couldn't drive straight. So we've just been over the Great Divide. What is it? The Great Continental Divide. Coming to the other side of the mountain. Look at this for a range. This is heading towards Nevada, Reno.
Yeah. Promontory Point, Golden Spike. We're just north of Salt Lake City now. You can see the snow-capped mountains around. Park City is over there where the Winter Olympics were. We're on Route 50, just west of Lake Tahoe, California. And it's a beautiful winding mountain road. I'm going to guess it was built in the 1930s, right after they were trying to get us out of the Depression. The government had something called WPA, Works Product Administration, where they approaching the western end of Interstate 80, which goes from right on the outskirts of New York City and ends in San Francisco. We're going over this new crazy self-anchored suspension bridge, which is unique in the world.
The sense of achievement I felt coming into San Francisco, even though we were even a fair way before we had to drop the car off. There's such a good feeling in taking this car from a pile of junk to this reliable car that we drove right across America on. I mean, we didn't know for sure whether you have any problems or not. We were confident we did a good job, but you never know until you're there, and that's the whole story. The story is driving from New York to San Francisco, not breaking down in Utah and getting towed. I wanted to make it. I wanted to actually get to the other side and show that we've done it. You know, we've built this car and we've made it right across America. It's a very good feeling. Okay, we're just heading through San Francisco city centre, trying to get to the shipper to drop the car off. I'm following Rick. That's the white car in front. And this is some midday traffic in San Francisco. 5 lanes wide, and this has just been idling for the last 45 minutes. It's like a 10-minute drive. Where's that coming from? 10-minute drive that takes half an hour.
Waiting for Brian. There's 68, 69 Charger here already. I'm in this rental car. Brian is late as usual. He called me on the phone a few minutes ago, so I do expect him here fairly soon. Anxiously awaiting his arrival so I can get out of here and take a shower, which is sorely needed. Oh, look at that, here he comes. Holy cow, how's that for timing? Wow. This is the beast. We drove in from New York City to just north of San Francisco, California. I'm actually gonna miss this thing. Wait, let's see if we get a few words of wisdom out of Brian. So Brian, what was it like driving this thing coast to coast?
Amazing.
It really was, wasn't it? And it never missed a beat.
I think we can safely give ourselves a pat in the back.
That's right. And mopar or no car?
How's that? Put a car together in that short time and drive it.
3 weeks and drive it 4,000 miles, and it uses 2 quarts of oil and gets averages 16, 17 miles a gallon.
Just check under the hood each day and that's it.
It's amazing.
Do anything at all.
All right, we'll see you guys in Melbourne. GoPro, stop recording.
Hi, this is Brian at Roadrunner Garage. We're finally about to start the next stage of the Roadrunner. So I'll just walk around the car, give you a bit of an idea what I'm going to do to start. So the way I usually manage body and paint with all my builds is, apart from disassembly, so the car obviously needs the bumpers, grille and all the details, chrome pulled off. All the hang-on panels will be taken off, and then I will start on the roof and work my way down. So finalise roof, then quarter panels, basically finish the door shell. I'll have to do the cowl top down here because that's been replaced. I'll prepare that for paint, and then I'm going to isolate the engine bay because that's already painted. And once I've got all the roof and quarter panels in high fill, nice and straight, then I will move on to the hang-on panel. So I'll just do one panel at a time, do the bonnet, boot, guards, doors, get them all finalised for high fill. And then after that I usually do all the door jambs, paint the door jambs of the body shell, the boot jambs, trunk floor, inside quarter panels, all those areas that you can't reach. And then because of metallic, I like to paint the cars fully assembled. So once all the panels are painted in high fill and all the door jambs are done, I will put all the panels back on the car, line everything up, get all the gaps perfect the way I want them, and then repaint the car in its top coat. So I'm looking forward to that. So today is just stage one, which will be pull down and start getting ready to do the bodywork. So this is what I'm chasing. Just when I quickly whiz over this with a 320 grit. This little DA's got a dust extraction, so it takes a lot of the dust out. You don't get it in the environment, plus it cuts faster, your paper lasts longer. It's a good thing to have if you can get one. So we're just sanding down the top until you see the guide code through, and I want to take it down something like that where there's hardly anything showing, and then I'll finish the car off wet with 600, and then just finish it off totally. Make sure you get every scratch and every little pin and every pocket out of the guide coat, and you'll know you've got a good flat surface for the top coat. We're trying to avoid getting too many scratches in around here. That's the hard part. And then it's a matter of lifting and closing 100 times until you get your line. That's way too annoying, because that means it's going to get some scratches. Now I've got to shift the boot up. You can tell by the gap that it's a mile out. This is really, you could potentially put some marks in there beforehand. It's hard to do it when you're going to put new paint on there, because whatever marks you put in there disappear with the new paint. So we drop down again, see what it looks like. Do it very slowly. Okay, this is the next day after paint. Finally got it in colour yesterday, the Roadrunner. So have already been doing a bit of polishing the top surfaces. I've just knocked it back once, gave a first cut, but it really will need a couple. Ideally, this is the sort of finish you want to get off the gun. It's a little bit dry, a little bit peely, but no runs, nice and flat. Easy to give it a nice wet rub. I've already polished the roof, one rub and one cut, and the opposite side of the car is prepped now for polish. So this has been DA'd with 1200 dry. So sometimes I like to use this, just a 1200, sorry that's the 1200 free cut on your DA, and then when you're finished with 1200, we'll finish with a 1500. This has got padding in it. Everyone's got their own way of doing things, but I get the result that I want that way. Some areas, like around this scallop on the side of the door, you got a wet rub just by hand with paper, and basically just try and take out all the low spots and make it nice and flat. This looks nice and even now. Probably can't tell on the camera. You can see the finish across the boot. It's lovely, nice and flat. So I get a good result when I finish the whole thing. You pull your tape out, and the rest is to do with eye. Lay the tape line down. Bit of confidence to do this stuff. It's easy to make a balloon. Whilst I'm doing the bodywork at my workshop, in my spare time at home in my own garage, I like to try and do all the upholstery. I did quite a bit of night school back in the day and have been doing it for probably 20 years now. I have done a lot of custom work where I sew my own covers and my own patterns depending on what look I'm going for. This particular car I'm trying to make look exactly as close as I can to original. So I bought a kit from a company called Legendary in America. They reproduce a lot of the original patterns, colours, and it's an upholstery kit, so you can buy the seat covers, headliner. They even reproduce the interior door panels as well now. So there's pretty much you can't do. I'd recommend anyone have a go at fitting these themselves. They're really pretty straightforward. So one of my all-time favourite cars, 70 Roadrunner. I've lusted after one of these for a long, long time. Saw my first one in the flesh probably in the late 90s, and it's been on my bucket list to get. So finally I found one. Ultimate colour also, B5 blue. Just love the colour. If I was going to pick a list of things to buy when the car was new, this would be pretty close. Love the striping on the hood, the air grabber. Of course, this is a 446 barrel 4-speed super track pack car, so Dana 410 rear. What's better than that? Love the dust trail stripe down the side, little bird on the front. This is all original. This is how the car would have been when it was new. Rally wheels are fantastic. I love the little scallop in the side here with the simulated intake here and the curvy quarter panels. These cars look flat normally in photos, but in the flesh they are really curvy. These quarter panels come right out. Got a beautiful rear end on these. I love the little tail lights with the slits in them. They look really nice at night when they're lit up. The unique exhaust tips that are to Plymouth Roadrunner back in the day. The reflective strobe stripe with the bird, and the lovely back window that curves in and back out again. I mean, how good's that? Can't beat it. My name is Brian Dowell, and thanks for sharing my story.
The romping, stomping beast. I'm actually going to miss this thing.